Alrighty. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Farm to Film podcast, where I am taking you behind the scenes of the making of my movie, Snatched. And I am here today with a very special guest, my good friend from college, Charlie Solis. Charlie, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Finally, resting after a busy shoot. So,
It was a very busy week. We have officially wrapped Snatched. We shot for three very, very long days last week. Charlie flew all the way out from New York, and it was a really easy, effortless, no problem trip for you, right, Charlie?
oh yeah, just flying through the blizzard. But I had a few delays, had to be
Yeah.
flexible, but got lucky. And I was only like, what, 2 hours late? 2 hours late the first day, I think.
Originally we were supposed to shoot at 11 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and it was going to be a really chill day. We had we had a couple very important shots to get, but one of them was the drag queen getting into drag for the first time. And so that was we planned for like a 3 to 4 hour period of time where it's like, okay, we're going to put on a layer of makeup and then we're going to film you putting on eyeliner. And then we're going to put on a whole another layer. So it was a very stop and go, stop and go. Um, but yeah, we had snowstorms on the East Coast that were threatening to really ruin our shoot. So we had changed a few flights, and you got in. You were scheduled to get in we like an hour before we started shooting,
Yeah,
because we pushed everything back. And lo and behold, you got delayed further and further and further, but you made it.
I made
And
it.
we had a great time. Thank you for flying all the way to LA to be a part of this.
I'm
Um,
so grateful that I could be a part of it, and I'm so happy that the timing worked out and,
yeah.
making magic. So.
Yes. Yes. We're gonna take you guys back to the very beginning of how Charlie and I met. But before we go all the way back, Charlie was the very first person to ever read the first draft of Snatched, which was about 5 pages. It was a lot of the very. I was just reading it the other day. A lot of things stayed pretty similar.
Yeah.
We really fleshed the story out quite a bit, but the original concept was there
I feel
two
so
years
honored
ago.
I got to be the first to see it, But I also saw it and I immediately was like, this is gold. This is a story that I think, would be really fun and awesome to tell. And I think the other side of that too, it's a story that we probably all really resonate with, and I think we really need right now. So
Hmm.
it
Well,
hit all my boxes. I was like, yes, yes, yes.
oh, good. At least I hit your boxes, Charlie.
Yes.
Um, well, I want to go back a little bit. You and I, as I said, met in college back in 2008, if we want to date ourselves. Doesn't seem that long ago when we think about it, but Charlie, give me just a little bit of before we met, what do I need to know about Charlie Solis? Where did you come from before going to study acting in New York City?
I'm from Tucson, Arizona, and I grew up doing a lot of just theater, drama. I was president of the drama club. I thought that was really cool back in the day.
Very
And it
cool.
was
Very
sort of one of
cool.
those things where I think we all have this, where you did have to, this quarrel of like, I know I want to, do the arts. I want to be an actor, but am I gonna allow myself to do that? It's the sort of like obviously
Hmm.
a risky career, not a lot of stability, and
Yeah.
uh, I think I had a lot of thoughts about life, and I figured I'd rather have a life where I'm trying and doing a pursuit that I love, rather than working a job I'm not happy with, and
Hmm.
we only get to live once. So lo and behold, I decided to be an actor and I got into the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts in New York.
Hmm.
And that was, I think, my top pick. For one, growing up in the desert, I wanted seasons. So New York City, now when we have all this ice outside, I start to second
Yeah.
guess that.
Mm.
But so I wanted to come to New York, and New York is notorious for really like meaty acting training, and the conservatory seemed kind of like Hogwarts for actors. I feel like you get to
Yeah.
it's all you're doing for the whole week, and it's everything is contributing towards this pursuit, and I think that was super important for me at that moment. So when I decide things, I'm like, I've decided. So
Well, it's a big decision, unless you have, rich parents who pay for everything, then it just feels like acting summer camp, right? Like some
Yeah.
people didn't treat it the way that I feel like we treated it because for us it was such a big deal to be accepted to this school and sort of like open the door to like walking into the pursuit of your dreams, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like you and I took it very seriously. And I had the same shower thought this morning when I was like, how do you describe what we went through? And I was like, well, it's kind of like in Harry Potter when you get sorted into class like your
Yeah.
houses, right? But we were sorted into I think we had 14 or 15 or 16 sections
Yeah.
and each section was like 15 or 16 kids. Mine was section 4. You were in section
Gosh, I can't even
7?
remember.
No, 8, 4. Well, Charlie.
Wow, I
What
wish I
did,
remember that. Seven
well,
sounds cool. I don't know. I'll have to ask like Kaylee or something.
yeah, ask
She would
Kaylee.
remember. She has it in her notes. Whenever I need
Uh
notes, I'm like, hey Kaylee, do you have your notes still?
that's who you cheated off in class.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so we were like sorted into sections and pretty much, Monday through Friday, we had all of our classes all year with the same kids. Really kind of developed a little bit of a family system there, dysfunctional as it was.
Very dysfunctional
Um,
family
and
nonetheless.
yeah, we did 2 years of acting school. And Charlie, do you have any big takeaways from your 2 years at the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts?
Ooh. You
I'll tell
know,
you my, I
yeah, yeah,
mean,
tell me yours.
my takeaway, first of all, is there's a lot of crazy acting teachers out there, right? And for better or worse, I feel like each one had taught me something. Some of them taught me things that I have found useful moving forward, and then other ones have taught me things that I have looked back and gone, well, I learned how what doesn't work for me as an actor. I learned what doesn't work for me as a human communicating with another human. Um, and I'll leave it at that, you know. You gotta not throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I would not be sitting here with you had it not been for that experience. And I really did learn a lot, but I also feel like there's a lot of things that you learn in acting school that are like that doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. I always say it's not, I think I've learned that all of our instruments are different, and so it's
Hmm.
not one size fits all. How could it ever be, So it really is just like borrowing, you have to kind of live in all these different weird ass techniques to see, what, like you said, what doesn't work for you. Um, I think I also just had more respect for how vulnerable acting, philosophy and training can be because, and how borderline, you know, if you do it wrong can be damaging, and I think we
Yeah.
saw that we're such vulnerable young kids just getting thrown into these like very adult training techniques like very rigorously and for hours and hours on end. So yeah, I learned that you have to be sensitive.
Yeah.
And then I think the other takeaway, which I don't think I was was fostered by the school, I think was just sort of something that I learned since then is the power of cooperation, like rather than competition. I think that that was one thing that we were all like just fed competition, 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 which is true.
Yeah.
This industry is very extremely competitive, but I think the trick to succeeding is working together, and I think
Hmm.
that's something that was been so beautiful, bringing this round circle to this experience with you and Snatched and flying, to LA with this incredible team. I mean, everybody, I've said this, and you have like wonderful friends when you
I
meet their
do. I'm very
friends.
lucky.
Yeah, it's like everybody is so beautiful and warm and welcoming and passionate, And so I think like a cooperation was alive and thriving, and I think is, what makes film like really good film like successful is it's like this mosaic, It's like when everybody's like vibrating to their fullest, like the mosaic together just collectively just shines, and that's why we do this. So.
Yeah, it was really a magical experience on set. We're gonna jump around a little bit here, but Yeah, I really have not gotten a chance to talk about this, but I could not be happier with the team that we put together between me and my producer Nick and Sam and John who handled like everything production wise, pulling together the crew and the actors. It was magical on set. Everybody was just so stoked to be there, and bringing such talent. I would come onto set, and we're just loading in, and then I would go and I would get ready for like the first shots of the day, and then I would walk back onto set and it'd be beautifully lit. Our set designer Sherry had like created
Incredible. Oh my God.
just I it's wild having written something 2 years ago and then seeing it in your head day after day after day after day, daydreaming about it in the shower, and then all of a sudden I'm standing on set, looking at the actors in costume, in wardrobe, seeing it on screen for the first time. One of the most fulfilling things I've ever experienced, and to have such a great team that with such positive attitude and such great talents that like I had to worry about nothing the entire time. I mean, obviously I had to direct a movie and do what I had to do, but I feel like a lot of directing is just putting the right people into the jobs to do the things they need to do. And then, hey, a lot less
Well,
worry for
and
me.
hopefully having a story that like everyone's jazzed about, I think that
Yeah.
I always kept saying this, what a wonderful vehicle for, so many people because it has so many really fun, vibrant, parts of it, whether it's like stunts or makeup or wardrobe, etc. Everybody really got to have a moment to really like play and
Hmm.
whether that was the lights or the wardrobe or the wigs and like incredible. And I don't know, I think that everyone was just having so much fun, and then it doesn't feel like work at all, and then like the time flies and it's like before you know it you shot a movie. So
Yeah. It really was immaculate vibes on set. Uh Charlie, I had a few pictures from you I was going to share from set.
cool.
If I can pull them up here. You did a really good job of hiding from my set photographer. But while we're here, I'm actually gonna to go. I have a few pictures. We're gonna just do a little show and tell for a moment, so because
Sweet.
it's I'll pull it up. But I have here, Charlie. This is
Oh
our
my
first
God.
picture together back in
Holy
college.
moly. Wow.
Uh,
Throwback.
yeah, that's us at
We
18.
haven't aged a bit.
Not a bit, not a bit. And that's another good friend of ours, Mason, in this
Yeah,
picture, who
Mason.
was college roommate, and yeah, touch base with that guy. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
he's doing great.
Um, Charlie, this was when we went
Wow.
to
Oh my goodness.
Times Square with a bunch of our crew
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you, Bettina.
I distinctly remember this day. It was like
This
an
was
adventure.
early on, I think.
This is when I had a lot of sugar. I didn't understand. I hadn't learned about sugar yet, as an adult, and you can
Uh-huh.
tell in this picture.
Yeah. And then we got you here on set behind the scenes of Snatched with
Oh,
our
that's a beautiful pic.
Sina, our wonderful stunt coordinator who stepped in this day. We're gonna
So cool. And Charlotte.
see,
Oh, what
so
a bad.
cool. Yes, and
Oh,
Charlotte,
they're
of
so
course, and
freaking cool.
yeah, Charlie, this was your big moment on camera. So you did fly out and help PA for the day for the 3 days. But you also had a little scene on camera, and we're not going to necessarily talk about how that scene ends. I feel like that's
Yeah, I
a
know.
that's
We'll
something
have to
fun to
stay
save for.
tuned.
Stay tuned when you get to watch the movie to see how Charlie's day on set ended.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is outside of the bar where we
Oh, it looks
shot
so good.
the big final sequence of the film. Of course, there we have you and some guys with bats, and then we have karaoke played by the wonderful KBBQ. Um, and
Beauties.
we'll let you fill in the gaps of what might happen in a dark alleyway outside with some guys with bats and a drag
Yeah.
queen. Um, and here's what were you doing in this picture, Charlie?
I was standing out of the way. I found a little nook. This we had little tight quarters right there in that little corner.
Uh-huh.
So I was just having a good time sitting,
Yeah.
hiding. Yeah, it was a good go-to spot. I feel like a few of us just, hunkered down in that little.
Yeah. That was day three, bathroom shoot. Final day on set before we
Such a
wrapped.
cool
That was it.
day.
That's all the
Oh,
pictures I could find of you, Charlie, on set.
I was elusive. I was working.
You were working hard. So Charlie, tell us, we talked a little bit about acting, and you also, I feel like there's two different types of actors in this world. There's actors that sit back and wait for a job, and then there's guys like you who are out there hustling. I feel like you will do anything for the art. Um, so tell
If
me
I
a little
can,
bit
yeah.
about some of your like you did PA for me, obviously, but tell me a little bit about your background outside of acting.
Yeah, so I think out of just the love of filmmaking, I've stumbled into, behind the camera work. And it started actually a few years ago. I had auditioned for this show. I didn't get, it was like a one-liner. I didn't get it, but one of my best friends, who's been a paperwork PA for many, many years, said, "Hey," he was PAing on the show. "Do you want to come day play as PA? You could see, check it out." And I was like, why wouldn't I not want to do that? How awesome. And I've been saying too, it's something that pre-pandemic I could have never done because, we would have to be running to different offices at like a moment's notice. You can't just sign up for like a 12, 14-hour day as a PA and be like, "Hey guys, BRB, I got to run to
Right.
Midtown." It could be 5 minutes or 3 hours. I have no idea.
Hmm.
You just couldn't do that. And so I think that's something that, I encourage a lot of other actors to do is just get on set, treat it the same way that, if people go to film school as a director and things like that, they'll take any job, on set. So you meet like locations, they have an MFA, like that's how it works. And so for one, you meet all these wonderful people doing it. But I would say if you are nice and you make friends with DIT, there is an app called QTake. And uh, if you're lucky, like this app is usually for locations, wardrobe, etc., so they can see what the camera sees. So if they need to make any adjustments throughout the day. Um, so if you're lucky, you get that app as well. So while you're standing on a day, locking up like a street, making sure no one like walks into a shot, you can see what these huge stars are doing on the day, take by take. And so I got really, obsessed with that. And also just like the magic of TV, so I think I did like 22 episodes of television as a PA, made all sorts of fun contacts and through that, got some other acting work. So it's been fun, to see kind of how it blossoms in ways that contribute to acting. But I also think it helps, for these big budget shows, you want to be comfortable on the sets. So working as a PA, like you get so comfortable, you build your set legs, so you
Hmm.
understand all the moving parts. And I think that, is so crucial when you are working as an actor to not let all of it throw you off, So I think that's been really helpful. And then it's also fun when you do book something and then all the people, It's like I did a
Yeah,
episode of TV and the camera person comes out, the AD was like, "Oh my God, it's Charlie Solis. We weren't sure if it was you." And I was like, "Hey guys, it makes the whole thing way less scary." So
for
uh
sure, for sure.
yeah, so trying to do that, any chance I get, and then also just, you know, helping some photography friends with lighting, and I
Hmm.
think just anything creative will influence your point of view and as an artist. And so that's why I'm just like be a sponge. I'll just say yes, and just do whatever I can.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. It is such a collaborative process. And when we talk about like immaculate vibes on set, it's like when you have a good experience on set with someone, you want to work with that person again. So, you know, one job can really turn into like years of jobs.
Yeah.
Um, so speaking of bookings and jobs, Charlie, do you have any like standout stories from your days on set, either as an actor or, or as, a crew, that you want to share with us?
Ooh,
Anything
stand out.
come to mind? To really put you on the spot here. It can be
Yeah.
anything. Fun memory, uh, cool project you got to work on. Anything come to mind?
I mean, I think one of the coolest things I got to do was The Walking Dead. And mostly just to see the makeup is just, it's I have so much respect for uh makeup artists, VFX, people who really do all of the nitty-gritty details, because I often think that even when it comes to gaining weight or losing weight, like I subscribe to the belief that like this is your instrument as an actor, you have to respect it. And that when we go into places of having to gain like a bunch of weight or whatever, I think you're kind of walking into the lane of hair and makeup and VFX because like that is their opportunity to flex. And so
Mhm.
it was super cool seeing that happening, and all the detail. And then also just like there's still people so behind takes like they're just drinking like a Pepsi, like stretching and like shooting the shit. And I thought that was just like the funniest thing. I could have done like a whole photo series of like the zombies like behind the scenes in between takes, just like chilling. It's so funny.
Sounds like some sort of weird sitcom.
Yeah. Um, but
I remember when you booked that. I was so stoked for you because this was the Dead City, right?
Dead City, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes, with the Negan and Maggie spinoff.
Yeah, what a beautiful opportunity that was. So
Yeah.
super.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan, what an actor. I had when I was casting for Benny, when I put up the casting notice, it was like, I'm looking for like a young Negan.
Ooh, that
Someone
fits.
who's charming but crazy. You know?
That's a great way to describe that character.
Yeah. Yeah. Less apocalyptic, of course,
Mhm. Yeah,
Just a small town guy with a lot of confidence,
yeah, a
and a
little
big
crooked.
smile. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Charlie, what do you got going on these days?
So yeah, I felt like super lucky. My first starring role in a feature film
Hmm.
uh should be coming around the bend. It's called The Day After Slash Yesterday. So it's fun seeing like that sort of piecing together.
Hmm.
That was a lot of hard work and a lot of people putting blood, sweat, and tears to make this feature happen. So I'm excited for that. And then I have a couple of fun short films, alongside Snatched. So I feel like, when all this stuff starts to come out, it's gonna be really fun to just, see the fruits of our labor, and also just to
Yeah.
see everyone experience it. Because that's what, when you do it, and I was telling my mom actually the other day, having finished this like snowy short film I did, it's kind of like in the style of Fargo meets Manchester by the Sea. Um, and I was like, I don't really know how the film will turn out, because something that I think I've really come to learn is to prepare, so many different options for a scene, especially like in the indie world, if you have more time, the director's like, all right, boom, we got that. Do you have anything else to try? Like, let's try some different things, and so
Hmm.
I was saying the best way I could articulate it is that you're like building different puzzle pieces. And so I'm like, this could be like a million different films depending on which puzzle pieces the director chooses. And that's also
Yeah.
what's exciting is to be like, well, try to find the love in each take and then see, the excitement. So either whatever comes to be, you should hopefully love, but that's also like the magic. So I'm eager to see how all that turns out. Same with Snatched. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
there's so many wonderful options. So I'm like curious what you're gonna choose.
Yeah, I'm excited to get into the post production of it all and sit down and, like actually watch some of the footage and see how these scenes come together. Cause, right now it still very much lives in my mind. And then I've seen pieces of it come to life, right? But only one angle of it. It's different once you start to add the editing and sound effects and all of that stuff. So
It just gets better and better. That's also when you
it's,
like if you're this stoked, looking at the monitor, it's like,
yeah,
can you imagine, as you get to add all the fun like bells and whistles and everybody like everyone gets to flex. Like this is now it's like
yeah,
your editor's time to just really like throw down and dive into the art of the edit and you know all that.
yeah. Yeah, and we're gonna look. I had such a good time on this project, and really, a lot of really fun connections to different people on set in terms of like I've known you since college, and I would say we were like acquaintances in college, right? We were friendly, we were in different sections, so it's weird because the people that you're in class with are your become like your family. Those are the people you see on a day-to-day basis. And then, there's people in school that you see in the hallways or maybe around the dorms, but you really don't have the time to get to know everybody outside of your class. It's really hard. So, we were acquaintances and really like kept in touch over the years.
Yeah.
Um, and I think every year maybe became better friends gradually. And here we are post college, making movies together, making magic.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Susie.
And Susie, we're going to talk to our other friend Susie we went to college with as well, who was a part of production. And so I have like some really cool connections with a lot of people in the crew and the cast. And so I wanted to have a little sit down convo with everybody, kind of go through like all the different aspects that go into making a movie, not just on screen and behind screen, but the relationships and props and hair and makeup and special effects and blood and sound and all of
Yeah.
these things. So we're going to do that over the next several weeks. I'll have some updates on production, more behind the scene pictures to share. Have here, Charlie. I don't know if you were a part of this.
Yes. There's my little signature.
This is the title page of Snatched,
Beautiful.
written by me and signed by many of our incredible cast and crew. This was gifted to me on our last day on set with these lovely orange flowers. What are these called? Are these daisies?
I think those are daisies, yeah.
Orange daisies. I really don't know anything about flowers, but they're orange, and it was very kind. I cried a lot on set.
It's a beautiful thing, it's you're giving birth to a film, a story that you've like thought about of thin air, I mean, the
It's
whole process is cool.
yeah, it's just like it's emotional, it's a dream come true moment, and also like the speech that Nina gave on day two in the bar. Wow.
Very moving.
Whoever wrote that speech.
So good. Damn. Also, what an icon. What a wonderful human being. I mean, oh my
Truly.
goodness. Yeah.
I've heard through the grapevine people who meet Nina West and say like, "Oh man, just what a lovely human, what the nicest person you'll ever meet." And I feel like people say that. You're like, "Oh yeah, they were so nice." You hear that about people. But then you meet Nina West and you're like, "Oh, I get it. Truly the nicest human, so gracious, easiest person to work with, so talented, so professional.
Mhm.
10 out of 10. If you ever get the chance to go see a Nina West show,
Tens across the board.
go. Yes, yes. Um, yeah. Charlie, what else? What else do we need to
What
cover? Do you
what
have any
else?
any uh any other set tidbits to share with us from your time on Snatch? I guess I didn't get to see you like the entire week.
I know, I know. Well, everyone is doing their thing, and I think that's what's fun. I forget someone was like, "Yeah, you're really chill, but like you get shit done, because you got to, and we're all here to do the thing, and it's fun, And I was saying how fun it is, having gone to school with you and Susie so
Hmm.
long ago, and then get to really work together. You get to see 'em like, damn, yeah, my friends are some real professionals, and like everyone, is good at this and like loves
Hmm.
this, and it's a sort of this camaraderie of this like shared joy of this crazy thing that we do, and these long, long hours and still finding the love and the joy in it, even if it's 5 in the morning, and
Oh
we,
my gosh. Yeah.
you know, but it's
We
fun. We're there together.
yeah, we wrapped just a little after 5 a.m. Our second and third day on set. We did late nights and um yeah, man. I felt so bad on Wednesday night when once we hit overtime. Um that was a new experience for me. But yeah, we powered through. Drank a lot of coffee and Celsius.
Yes.
Um and
Yeah. God bless caffeine.
God bless caffeine. Yeah, I had look. I was pretty open with everyone throughout this whole process that this is my first time really directing, and I had so much support and it was so great. But there was definitely a moment around 1 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday where you get that little inner saboteur in the back of your head that's like, You're not good enough for this. You can't do this. What were you thinking? You are in over your head. Um, and yeah, it's real. It happens. I think it's a part of, any position in any artistic endeavor. Uh, there's really sort of like what truly qualifies anybody to be an artist, you know? And I was very grateful in that moment to have so many supportive familiar faces around me because that was there's one specific shot that we had to get that involved you, Charlie.
Yes.
You were on the other side of camera as I was staring down the lens trying to figure out how do we do this shot because it's going to require some VFX. It's probably going to be the most expensive shot we got. And I was very nervous about making sure that we got what we needed on set so that it translated into the post production of it all. And not something I've really had to do.
Well, it's so you really, for anyone who doesn't know,
Yeah.
you have to really conceptualize like how it's all going to come to fruition so that you make sure you get the pieces, and
Hmm.
I feel confident. You have such a wonderful
Yeah.
team, and everyone was so cautiously making sure, that like, all right, did we get the right puzzle pieces?
Yes. Yes. But that was the scariest moment on set for me, Char. I don't know
A
if you could
fun learning
tell.
moment. No, well, and I remember thinking, and I'm always so cheerful. People are like, how are you so happy? I just set my expectation for every film shoot that I'm gonna like be there till like the sun comes up. That way when you're not, you're like, all right. Um, but just like I remember having them all being like, oh, remember why we're all here? Like someone is gonna see this film and it's gonna like be life changing for them or like
Yeah.
hugely inspirational. Like what remembering why we're all there
Hmm.
at this like tricky, trying moments of adversity, and continue to
Yeah.
smile. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we
Well,
did it.
yeah,
We
just
did it.
we did, and I will. I'm really excited to see how it all comes together.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it wasn't all just like easy sunshine and rainbows. Obviously, there was hurdles along the way, and late nights and difficult moments. And there's times when it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, well, we got to cut a few shots because we can't do it all. We
Yeah.
this is not a $1 million budget project. We have limited resources, limited time. And Charlie, you go to a lot of festivals, you see a lot of films, a lot of shorts. And sometimes you're like, why did they do that? And you're like, well, they probably ran out of time or money and they just had to
Yeah.
do the best with what they could.
And I think that's also just something I've learned. The takeaway from, being on so many indie
Hmm.
shoots is you really realize it's like we're so hard on indie film, I think, when we are the viewer, if you haven't really been in that, because you're like, oh, I don't know, that acting wasn't like that was kind of off or felt a little funny in that scene or something. And it's like, well, maybe like they had one take, and
Hmm.
they probably shot like 12 scenes that same day. So like, yeah, like that's part of I think what is also so exciting when you see really great indie film is that like they managed to like keep it going and do the thing,
Hmm.
through limited time and resources,
Yeah.
so it's really a challenge and it's an art and everyone wears so many different hats, which is fun,
Hmm.
seeing it's like who's helping what, whose hands are here, it takes a village. So
It does. It does. And speaking of indie films and films in general, Charlie, it is award season.
it is.
We are entering upon that time of year. Are there any films that you would recommend people to check out if they have a list that they're trying to get to, or maybe one they haven't heard of
um
from over the past year?
Yeah, I'm a kind of a cynic. So
Mm.
I wasn't as jazzed with a lot of the films this season, I will say. But one
Hmm.
that stuck out, we saw this movie together,
I
actually.
was I was actually wondering if you were going to say
Yeah, it's like,
this.
if I had legs, I'd kick you. I
Rude.
think, yeah. I think, I don't know for you, for it just was such a unique story, and I think I love stories that feel of the moment and
Hmm.
like have some sort of like you could in a history class years later, like pull this film and be like, what was significant about 2025, 2026 that like painted this film and like why this film at this moment? And I feel like we as a collective, people at this moment, there's a lot of this sense of feeling kind of powerless
Hmm.
and the shit, and like
Yeah.
things ain't looking so hot.
Yeah.
And so I think that was interesting to see that kind of emotion uh, in this one character. And then I also love when we just see just new ways of filmmaking or people take risks, like it kind the camera mostly being on Rose Byrne,
Hmm.
and you hardly see any of these other people, I thought was a really interesting move. And also again, so telling of this moment where we all kind of live in our own bubbles, of like our we're all obsessed about ourselves. We have our little Instagram shrines to ourselves. Like
Hmm.
we are in our own little world. And so to see
Yeah.
it, I guess illustrated in like a point of view sort of film was cool. It kind of reminded me of Enter the Void, where like the camera blinks, in that film. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's
I
also
haven't. I'll have to check
heavy,
it out.
heavy movie. Highly
Yeah.
recommend it. But
Yeah.
taking camera risks. So that I
Yeah.
think was probably the standout for me this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that movie really, I didn't know a lot about it going into it. I just knew Rose Byrne was in it, and I'm a big fan of her. If you don't know who that is, Rose Byrne was in Bridesmaids. She was, Kristen Wiig's nemesis of that movie, and she's been in a million things since. I find her so compelling and such a beautiful actress. And um, in this movie, she is the mother of a kid who needs like a feeding tube, and the whole movie is very close up in her face. It's very like you don't even see her daughter for most of the film because she's really just absorbed in her own world, all of her own stresses, everything she's dealing with, and all of a sudden it's like now she's in a scene with someone and it's like it almost like catches you off guard when like someone starts talking to you. And so it's just really interesting the way they film the movie. There's so there's some moments where you're like, oh, is this going to go horror? So they do a lot of really interesting things that really kind of bring other genres into it, some mystery, some intrigue. It's a little abstract, but it's such a compelling story, I think. So yeah, if I had legs, I'd kick you with Rose Byrne. Highly recommend checking it out. I saw Send Help the other night as well.
Oh, I've heard that was really good. Nicholas said that was
And
good too.
yeah, Rachel McAdams, another of my favorites. And it's a little like Castaway meets I don't know if you saw Triangle of Sadness. There's a little bit of Triangle of Sadness in there, of course, crash landing on an island. It's a little bloody, a little violent, but it was a fun movie. I recommend it. I don't know if it's winning any awards, but um it was
I
fun.
gotta go see it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm a big horror fan, obviously. And
Ooh, also Pillion. I just saw this one. I don't know if this one is in if it's has any nominations or not, but it comes
I
out tomorrow.
I was gonna say I didn't even know that that was out yet. I had heard Alexander
Alexander
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård plays
Yeah.
like this Dom motorcycle daddy.
Dom Motorcycle
Yeah.
Daddy.
So also
All right.
recommend it. That one was very tender.
All right. Very tender. Okay. All right. Um Charlie, anything else? How can people keep up with you if they
Um,
want to follow your life?
Probably Instagram,
Yeah.
the Charlie Solis. I usually keep up there. So
At Charlie Solis. All right, I'll tag you in the show
yeah,
notes.
yeah.
Um great. Anything else we should know about you, Charlie?
Ooh, I don't know. What else is
Do
there
you
to know?
have do you have do you have what motivates you in your life? Do you have like a moment, a saying, a pivotal memory that you feel like inspires you to continue to move forward? Is it a person? Is it a place? Is it a memory? Is it a moment? This is a very vague question. Um,
Ooh, that's tricky. I don't know. I don't know if this even counts, but this is just something that was the first thing that came to my mind, I guess.
Perfect. Perfect.
what is it?
That it counts.
It's a quote that the dad in Lost in Space always would say. And it is accept the unexpected, don't complain, there's no time, assess your options and make a plan. And I think that is what came to mind when you said that, just something that I try to keep in my mind, because it helps you just keep moving, just keep moving. And I think as an artist, sometimes it's ebbs and it flows. We're riding waves, we're surfing, and sometimes there's not a
Yeah.
lot of, action in the water, and so I think like just being like, well, what do you have right now? What can you do? And don't get caught up in whining or worrying, and just, keep going. There's another quote, work, don't worry. So work,
Mm,
don't worry, because if you're working, before you know it, wonderful things are just going to happen because you've been working. You don't have to worry.
yeah. It's great advice. I had told myself throughout this process, like, really, like, try not to overstress, because oftentimes, we stress about things that are out of our control, and now we're just living in a state of stress, right? And so I had to try to, like, constantly remind myself, like, enjoy this process, right? It's like 3 days is gonna fly by. So I had to really try to, like, be present, trust trust that the things that needed to be taken care of are going to be taken care of, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to work out, right? There was a very pivotal shot on Wednesday that in the scheme of things we missed. I missed it. We
Uh-oh.
almost wrapped one of our actors before a very pivotal shot that we got. We got half of the shot. The other half of it we picked up on Thursday, and it was definitely one of those moments where I was like, man,
Ah, yes,
I
now I
should have
remember.
known. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, yes.
There's
Uh-huh.
there's a there's a character that has a tattoo, and there's a moment with the tattoo, and there was a shot that was missed Wednesday night that we made up for on Thursday, and it's just one of those things that you sort of go back to the story and you go, how do we tell the story a different way, right? Because we missed a shot. Um, and I think trusting the process of, like, oh, well, we can still tell the story a different way. And actually, I think it worked out better the way we ended up getting it. And somebody told me once, the story that you write is different than the story that you shoot, and that's going to be different than the story that gets edited in the editing room. So there's three different movies
So
that you
true.
make along the way. I think it was actually Susie that had mentioned that to me. Um,
Brilliant.
and and it's true, because the story that I wrote is different than the story that we shot. There's some slight different variations of how we are going to be telling certain reveals, and that tattoo moment is one of them that is going to be different than it was in the script, and I think it's better. And it's just sort of, again, trusting the process that there is no one way to do art, but sometimes you come up against an obstacle, and that obstacle makes your art better because it forces you outside of the box. It forces you to think about your story in new ways. Um, and I think, again, like as you said, that's a little bit of the brilliance of indie filmmaking, is you really have to step outside the box and look at things in new ways constantly.
It's so true.
Hmm.
That's the magic, you
It
know?
is. It is. Um, well, Charlie, this has been really nice, catching up,
Yeah.
and getting to work with you outside of school. Um,
More
it
of
really
this.
eh, more
Got
of
to do
this.
more. Yes,
More of this, for sure, for sure. Well, hopefully this is just the beginning.
for sure.
We got lots more coming. Snatched. We're gonna have lots more interviews coming with different crew and cast members. So make sure to hit subscribe on that YouTube channel. Everything's gonna be coming through there. You can subscribe to the podcast feed. Everything is free right now. Maybe one day we'll make some money doing this, but for now we're just doing it for the love of the art. Um, and make sure to give Charlie a follow. Yeah, stay tuned, stay snatched, and be kind. Talk to you guys later.